And then that can kind of lead us into one that you were talking about, which was to always share what spirit gives us, even if it's difficult to do so.
Yeah,
And I've heard various takes on this, and I think it depends on the medium and the
I
person's
know.
perspective. So what are your thoughts on this? Do you always give what spirit gives you? Or are there times when you hold back? And if so, when are those times?
There are some times when I do hold back. And spirit really has to hit me over the head a few times before sometimes I'll actually give the message, especially if it's totally random, right?
Now, is that
Um,
because of your fear, or is that because you're not sure that you feel comfortable delivering that message because it might cause harm or a
I think
problem?
when it's unasked for, I have more reservation. So if it's like, oh,
Right.
Carol's dad just came through and well, for you, that'd be different. I guess if it was somebody
But if
like
it's
more
for somebody that
random,
you really don't know or don't have a good working
right?
relationship with, it can be very difficult. I totally understand.
And very rarely does that ever happen with a complete stranger. Like never. I don't think I've ever just gone up to a stranger and been like, "Oh, I got this information for you." It's not.
And we've seen
Um,
that on television, especially with Teresa Caputo, right? You know,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like where
And
television shows them approaching strangers, so-called strangers, because they've been asked ahead of time if they're okay with it, though.
oh,
You
see, I
know,
didn't even know that.
yeah,
And this is the thing is, I feel like that's not really a thing because maybe it is, but it does not happen for me in that way. Um, and even when you're doing just a regular sitting with somebody, you can receive information from someone that's painful. Like I had someone that said they had taken their own life and it was due to medical reasons. And they were like, my message is I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. Like totally not sorry.
right. Hmm.
And I was like, but the way that he said it was kind of like sorry, not sorry. Just kind of like, "Meh, meh, 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 meh." And I was like,
Right,
that's what you want me to tell your family right now.
right.
and
And then it kind of
but
becomes your responsibility to take that information, deliver it, but then to maybe soften the blow or to make the decision not to say it. Those are kind of some of those responsibilities and ethical conundrums that we come into.
right. So I had to make the decision. I said it pretty close to the way he said it, but the funny part is that the validation is usually in the information, right?
Right.
And the way that he said it and the attitude and everything, it was validation for them that that was indeed, their grandpa that, is a stubborn old man still,
Mhm.
apparently in the afterlife. Um, so it's like I can't really feel bad, even though it's a horrible, sad situation. It
Right.
also kind of brought light to the situation a little bit because they were like, "Oh my God, that's so him."
Right.
Um,
And the bigger intent there was to offer healing and comfort, even
right,
though it was a difficult scenario. Um, and I do tell people that sometimes before a sitting, it's like sometimes difficult conversations will come up, but it is designed to provide clarity and promote healing and understanding. If there's anything you don't want to hear or someone you don't want to talk to, you can let me know. If a topic becomes sensitive, we won't discuss it because I have to honor the sitter's perspective as well. And I have had very, very rarely one person said, I don't want to talk to that person. I'm like, okay, no problem.
yeah,
She's made it very clear. So I didn't go there, right? I mean, that's all you can do. But you do have from time to time where a spirit will show up. I was getting my hair cut a few weeks back, and the day before going, I had someone show up and I went, oh, this is for my hair person. And it happened again that morning. And she knows about me, but just a little, not a lot. I mean, enough that I thought, okay, I'm going to see if she's okay with this. So we got there and I said, I think I have a spirit for you. Are you comfortable with me maybe telling you about that? And she's like, oh, yes, please do. But I asked ahead of time because
right,
if she wasn't comfortable with it, then I needed to honor her as well. So that's why it has to become that win-win-win, right?
right,
It's
right.
like the spirit can approach you, but you have to make that decision to say, but at the same time, I can't just barrel over the sitter
Right. So I feel like if it ever happened in such a way where, I got this information randomly and they're like, you need to tell that strange person over there that, blah, 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 I would have to introduce myself, be like, hey, I'm
Right.
a medium. Is it okay if I give you this message?
Hmm.
And hope that they don't freak out,
Right.
which most people would probably be like, okay, what do you have to say? And then they'll take it or leave it.
Right. I
Um,
think that's where it becomes a personal decision, because if the spirit is showing up and you're the only outlet for reaching their loved one, in some ways you want to honor the spirit and go, okay, I might be their opportunity. There
right.
may not be another opportunity because
I
that
know.
person isn't a believer, or that
Right.
person isn't going to seek out a medium. But what I might say from their loved one could change their life. And I think that that's a personal decision that each medium has to make. Some will tell you you should never do it. I've known a person that's done it. And if you handle it well and respectfully, it's not for me to judge. I think you're
Yeah.
going to have to make that decision yourself. But I
I
do
think
think you
I
need
think
to
there's
weigh all three individuals, you, the sitter, and the spirit, into that equation.
right. There's gonna be a level of discernment. There has to be a lot of discernment actually for the psychic person involved in that situation, meaning
Absolutely.
you have to really, really be
You
confident
need to
in
be
yourself.
sure. You
Yeah,
need to be sure.
really need to
Yes.
be sure. And then definitely I would ask permission
Right.
before I
And I
would.
will give you a scenario where I did not do it. I had just moved back to town, was having a dinner with a bunch of family members. This person was an extended family member through marriage. We walked in, and he had uh, a spirit, a loved one in spirit that was with us. And I thought, oh boy. And I went, I just can't do it. First of all, this was a very religious family. We were in a
Yeah.
restaurant. It was not the right time or place. The individual that was related to this spirit knew nothing about me. I had no idea about the topic. So I opted not to do it. And it was like, I understand that you're here, but we're going to need to line up a better opportunity for this to happen.
Yeah.
Because this just isn't, plus the living person was inebriated, and that really did not, I just didn't feel that that was the right scenario. So
Yeah.
I had to make a judgment call. And I think that's the part here, is weighing all of those options and you making the best decision that you can make. Whether or not it was a mistake, I don't know, but I did the best that I could in that moment. Right.
I think another thing that happens too are these like weird random things that will come out of our mouths and is a message in itself.
Right. Where
Um
we just kind of randomly
where
say
yeah,
things.
it's just like spirit will just automatically do it. You don't have to overthink it. And someone will be like, "Oh, well, my mom used to say that to me all the time."
Right.
Or isn't
That's a
that
great
cute?
point. You can
Yeah,
deliver it in a very benign way, if at all
right.
possible. Right. I think the last thing I'll simply say about that is if someone has come to me for a session, though, I will almost always say everything that spirit gives me. Now, if a loved one has taken their life, or this is a child, I'm going to try to validate some stuff before I get to saying those things, because I want to be
Right.
really, really sure that I'm on point and I'm not sharing something that's going to be painful right off the gate. So it's like, give me something about your personality. Let me know not just maybe how you passed, if that was tragic, but give me some positive things that I can share, so we can make that connection first. Then we can move into some of those painful things.
Yeah,
Ideally,
I might do
spirit's
that
going to
too.
line
I
it
might
up the way
ask
that it needs to be
somebody a
done.
validating question first. Be like, "Hey, do you whatever it is?" And then see if, you're even on the right track before you start.
Right. Yeah.